So when you think about physical therapy, what comes to mind? Probably hands-on exercises, right? Manual adjustments, maybe some stretches. But what if I told you the future of recovery is being rewritten in code, in pixels, and in algorithms? We're about to dive into the incredible reinvention of physical therapy, a journey from its ancient tactile roots all the way to its cutting-edge digital future. I mean, just look at this contrast. On one side, you've got the foundations from 400 BCE, massage, hydrotherapy, simple exercise. And on the other, today's toolkit. We're talking artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and robotics. That is a massive leap, and it's completely changing how we heal. So the big question is, how on earth did we get from there to here? All right, here's our roadmap. First, we'll trace the ancient roots of the profession. Then we'll watch the rise of early technology. After that, we'll meet the modern AI-powered therapist, unpack the new rules of care that come with all this tech, and finally, we'll explore that absolutely critical balance between human touch and high-tech tools. Okay, let's start at the very beginning. Long before any of the tech, physical therapy was truly a healing art, one that was grounded in simple observation and human touch. You know, this idea of using physical methods to heal goes back thousands of years. We see its roots in ancient Egypt, Greece, and China. Then, around 400 BCE, Hippocrates himself gave it a more formal medical foundation. But it took a while to catch on as a real discipline. That didn't happen until the 19th century. The real catalyst, though? The World Wars. The sudden, urgent need to rehabilitate so many soldiers is what pushed for the formal training and professional standards that really define physical therapy today. All right, let's fast forward to the 20th century. This is where technology starts to creep into the picture, really setting the stage for the revolution we're seeing right now. In the last century, a whole new toolkit started to pop up. Therapists began using things like electrotherapy to help manage pain and ultrasound to treat soft tissue injuries. And toward the end of the century, we saw those first baby steps into digital, things like early computerized patient tracking and muscle stimulation machines. But here's the key thing to remember. Even with all these new gadgets, the fundamental job of the therapist didn't really change. The heart of the profession was still that traditional hands-on care. What was happening, though, maybe without anyone realizing it, was that the digital groundwork was being laid for the huge revolution that was just around the corner. And that brings us right up to the present day. Now we're in an era where AI and digital tools aren't just supporting therapists, they are actively reshaping what is even possible in patient care. Today's toolkit is just a world away from the past. We're talking about AI that can analyze a patient's movement with, frankly, superhuman precision. Wearable devices that let therapists provide care remotely, immersive virtual reality that turns rehab into a game, and even robotic exoskeletons that literally help patients get back on their feet. It's amazing stuff. So how does this AI actually work in practice? Well, first it crunches huge amounts of patient data, spotting patterns a human eye might miss. From there, it can actually help predict recovery outcomes, which then allows a therapist to create a truly customized, personalized treatment plan built on powerful, data-driven insights. And you know, this tech helps solve one of the biggest challenges in physical therapy: motivation. Let's be honest, doing repetitive exercises over and over can be a total grind. But virtual and augmented reality are game changers. They transform these tedious tasks into engaging, interactive experiences. And that's been shown to boost patient engagement and seriously improve outcomes. This has even led to some really cool new concepts like the virtual creative factory. Think of it like a design studio for therapy. It's a model that brings everyone, therapists, patients, and software developers into the same virtual room. Together, they can quickly build and test new rehab programs that are tailor-made for specific patients' needs. It's accelerating innovation like never before. Of course, with all this powerful new technology comes a whole new set of responsibilities and some pretty serious ethical questions we have to deal with. As we digitize care, a few major ethical concerns really jump to the forefront, and this chart breaks them down pretty clearly. The single biggest concern, taking up a whopping 40%, is data privacy. That's followed closely by making sure there's equitable access to all these new tools. And rounding it out are the need to keep care human-centered and to make sure therapists are actually competent with the tech. Yeah, this is the big one. AI runs on data, and in healthcare, that data is about as sensitive and personal as it gets. Protecting patient privacy isn't just a technical problem to solve. It's a foundational ethical requirement for this whole new era of care. And what about fairness? I mean, these incredible tools can't just be for the wealthy or for people living in big cities. There's a serious ethical imperative here to make sure this technological leap doesn't just create a two-tiered system. The goal should be to bridge the healthcare gap for patients in remote and under-resourced communities. So this all brings us to our final and maybe most important point. How do we find the right balance between the human expert and the intelligent tool? I think the guiding principle for the future is clear, and this quote says it perfectly. The goal is to enhance rather than replace the therapist's professional skills and traditional hands-on care. It's all about partnership. The technology serves the expert, not the other way around. Now, for that partnership to really work, the therapist's skill set has to evolve. They now need to be fluent in data analytics, they have to be committed to continuous learning, be totally grounded in ethical practice, and maybe most of all, be skilled at integrating these tools in a way that remains fundamentally human-centered. And that leaves us with one final critical question. And honestly, this isn't just about physical therapy. It's about the future of all healthcare. As our tools get smarter and more capable, the real challenge will be to ensure we're not just treating a data point on a screen, but that we're preserving the empathy, the connection, and the trust that lie at the very heart of what it means to heal.